we go. Done. Alright. So let's go. Well, let's go. Let's go. Try to take one more of these with coffee. I probably should. Why not? Whoop. There we go. Alright. Done. And done. Kamera då. Kamera. There it is. There we go. Oh, right. Let's go get the water. And get them a good, interesting readings today. There was the Everspace dev talking about how they perform in all the early access release and everything, and how the Game Pass affected them and stuff too. So can I read about that a little? Some interesting info. Some interesting game dev info. Alright, there we go. There we go. Stop. The camera is tracking the pastry. Treating my SMH. Alright. Get him. There we go. Hey nerd, hello. 20 grams. It should be around 18. I think this like this thingy there is probably a bit more. Like this thingy here is basically like 18 grams. If you get that right below that, should be around that. So that's probably like 20, I guess. I needed 1 cup of coffee. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just like don't really get more. Giga Geek, hello. Just use a scale. I mean, sure. Well, let's see. So this alone, 141.7. Now we're gonna finish it off and see. Let's see what you guys say. Like 12 grams for 200 milliliters. I mean, I guess. Oh, you also got AirPress? Nice. Feels good, man. You like it? Yeah, I do have that effect on people. Either through stream or IRL. Like I was taking it with me. Well, I mean, it's all mobile, right? Like this AirPress is just being like folded into one like plastic glass. I was taking it always to like, my friend's countryside house whenever we go and everything. Making coffee for my friends. And now, yeah, now one of them already got one. And another one for now just got my old coffee machine that I had. So don't throw it away or something. And he's also planning to get some good stuff there. Okay, 141.7. And this one is 163.2. So it's a bit even over 200 grams. So it's like 221.5. That's a bit too much. It might be a bit too much because my friend, like, I usually when we go with friends, we make the same amount as always, but I basically split it now for 2 people. Like the cups are smaller, and you know, with mechanical grinder for 4 people, for example, it gets a bit tiring to grind, and you need kind of like a lot of space also to like, you know, prepare everything, and you know, so I usually like split the same dose for 2 people, and still some of my friends complain that it's too strong. And for me, it's kind of like whatever. I don't know. I mean, I also like mix it obviously, right, with milk and everything. So hand grinding for 4 people. Yeah, imagine like doing this 4 times. I mean, it's fine. It just takes forever. It just takes forever. Usually with like 4 people, most of the time. Sometimes more, but when it's more, that's usually some like, you know, that's rarely when we go somewhere to stay overnight. Usually it's only like 4 of us. And whenever it's more, that was like such a crazy drinking that usually next day, you know, there's already not enough people alive to even drink that coffee anyway. 200 milligrams of caffeine. It could be. It could be. I should actually kind of like lower a bit and just see how it goes. Like less coffee, less water. And see how it goes in terms of taste, most importantly. And it's going to be more economically, you know, reasonable to do it that way. Coffee ain't cheap nowadays, eh? And the thing is, like, I'm not getting like some sort of like energy kick or something from that. That's the thing, eh? Like, I even at some point quit with the coffee, and I didn't even like notice the difference much. It does kind of help in the morning a little to get up to speed, but now I'm doing it like during the day, and there's like no difference. Get some tea in the morning now. That also kind of helps, I guess. But yeah, I usually do drink 1 cup. It's like, you know, a chunky cup too. Yeah, Robusta might be more dink, that's for sure. Robusta might be quite dink there. $5 for 500 grams cappuccino powder. A cappuccino powder, as in like ground coffee, you mean? For $5, that's a really good price. That's actually a really good price. Here for $5, you most likely gonna get like 250 grams probably. And this bag is 200 grams, and this one was like 4, I guess, bucks. No, a bit less, a bit less. And it's beans, Oh, dissolvable. Oh, this stuff. Okay, I see. Oh, okay, I see. All right, I see what you mean there. I see what you mean there. That's actually also kind of like okay price. Like the instant coffee here is expensive, like really expensive. It's like everyone is too lazy, I guess, to make their own coffee, and they just kind of like abuse that. Like all those instant coffee, like it costs more than the actual coffee basically for the same amount. And that's also part of the reason why a lot of my friends started moving to, you know, kind of also grinding their own proper coffee. It's just cheaper also. Or like for the same price you get like way better result, you know. So like everyone's getting like coffee machines and other stuff nowadays. When everyone before was just doing instant coffee. Like the AeroPress ritual, yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It is indeed very nice, and yeah, always taking it with me when I go somewhere for a few days, for example. So I can make coffee for everyone. Yeah, as long as you have some hot water, you good, eh? You good, eh? My day off, I sometimes can like buy some coffee. Like, you know, from some coffee places. It's nice to try some different. It's like, I don't know, it's the same as like Shark back in the day said. Like no matter what you do and how you try, it still tastes different when you buy it somewhere. It still kind of tastes better. But that also might be part of the thing, you know. When you just kind of feel you're not as superior as someone else, when in fact everyone around tasting it actually enjoying it. I mean, it's good though, but yeah, like when you get like some cappuccino or something from like the Dank coffee place, it still is a bit different. No, that's also different, obviously, way of making it. Don't have the, you know, the pressured espresso machine here after all. And that would probably also kind of help. But yeah, like cup of coffee nowadays, like 0.4, half a liter coffee basically would be almost like like this bag of beans, a little cheaper. And this bag of beans totally lasts longer. But yeah, sometimes when I'm like out for a while on some long adventures, I usually grab me some. Treat myself to some coffee. And that's like in cheap places also, like where like the fixed price coffee chains here. Those are pretty cheap. And if you go to like some Starbucks or something, then like cup of coffee there will be like 1.5, 2 bags of beans that I have here. That's why we don't go there. Well, I mean, some people do. It's also obviously like not Starbucks anymore. I think it's like Star Coffee now or something. They also changed name. Ignorantis, hello. And some people, I guess, still going. But you mostly see kind of this, like, you know, the Pipiego audience just go there so they can post in the Instagram that they went there. And how fancy and cool they are. I'll step on the hair soon. It will take a while still until that. At this point, I think it's already like not growing that much. It's falling off at the same pace as it's growing, you know. All right. Oh man, I didn't set up the reading thingy. One moment, I might want to do that. Forgot about it. On the screen reading thing. One sec. Gonna put it down here. One moment. Just gonna load all the screen reading real quick for the articles. So it's more convenient. Still always forgetting about how to load it. All right, is this one? ADB connect. Where are we connecting it? Are we connecting it to this one? There again. All right, works nice. Pretty good. All right, sorry, just needed to get the screen reader on. And now it's on. Whoop. A bit. Connect. And these. All right, let's get some file header stuff to read real quick. A little bit of game dev stuff. Come on. This one. Open. All right. Whoop. Here we go. Oh, there we go. I can even kind of move it here a bit. Come on. A bit laggy here. Why are you laggy? All right, good enough. Good enough. All right. Well, let's go. Let's go. Comparing Space Oranges and Zero-G Apples and deep dive into Everspace's Steam launch. Rockfish CEO Michael Shade busts some myths about Steam Early Access, wishlists, pricing, Game Pass, and more. Alright. And ways to accurately measure success is an ever-moving and sometimes difficult task in itself for studio leaders, but today I'm able to present a look into two data sets that show changes in a Steam feature performance over time and how wishlist value, while still desired, very much depends on early access versus 1.0 launch. And hot for our studio's best launch to date, wanted to share thoughts and comparisons on our two similar and successful announced to launch campaigns for Rockfish Games' flagship titles, Everspace and Everspace 2. Space games are a nice and a niche and don't sell, or do they? From recent single dev surprise Spaceborne to No Man's Sky, Light Dangerous, EVO Online, Stellaris, X-Series, Homeworld 3, Star Citizen, even that one, the much anticipated AAA space RPG, a blockbuster Starfield. It looks like there's been a real renaissance of space games within the last decade. And we think our space combat series Everspace plays an important role here too. In fact, Rockfish's influence might go back even further, as our team was also behind space combat games Galaxy on Fire 1 and 2. Thanks to massive fan base following us when we started a new studio, Rockfish Games, we had a wildly successful Kickstarter for the first Everspace, which then became a Steam Early Access Platinum graduate of 2017 and has sold close to 3 million units, including DLC on PC and console. Well, 3 million is really good. Sold, Well, dude's kind of had a history, though, looks like. The two games before that into Kickstarter. Successful Kickstarter back then. Which back then, every like successful Kickstarter was kind of like free, you know, publicity and everything. Which is already helps a lot. Thanks to the game's commercial success with roguelike fans, we were able to base the sequel on the much bigger and, to many space game enthusiasts, a more appealing vision. Team's internal pitch for Everspace 2 was Freelancer meets Diablo with Descent vibes. Three iconic classics with huge potential as a unique genre mix, but we too had ambitious plans and wanted to conquer our own niche within an arguably niche genre. A Diablo there out of everything, alright. How so? How so? Alright, done. There we go. Game looks jank, I see. People like that stuff, though. Even when it's jank. That's like the beauty of hitting the right niche, I guess, you know. And still kind of getting lucky and stuff to get people on board. And get people excited and everything. See window, nice. Probably. Did not go into looks, I see. Now, while both titles had different starting conditions since many things have changed on Steam, we've done a lot similarly. And most importantly, we demonstrated a compelling prototype to the public. Proved our case to the community, but also to ourselves on Kickstarter, and worked together with our community during early access with several major content update before hitting version 1.0. As you guys see, I mean, it probably will. It probably will. That's the thing. I think many people kind of just expect that. Another Bethesda release, dude. bugs and all that fun stuff, absolutely. And that's the fun part, because people will be happy about it. People will still enjoy it. Oh, they never fixed those, Kagig. They never fixed those after some part. Like some of the bugs that Fallout 76 was forced to fix because there's no mods for Fallout 76. Well, I mean, there are kinda, but not, you know, as in-depth mods. And you're technically not allowed to run them, right? Because it's multiplayer game on the server. You can't really modify files. They still were fixing bugs from like Fallout New Vegas. Like the lever action rifle reloading, for example. That bug goes since New Vegas. And they only fixed it in 76. I mean, same in Oblivion and stuff, Kagik, too, yeah. I mean, I don't want to kind of justify making shit games that are broken. I do agree that it's shit. And that shouldn't be the case. But yeah, that's what they do. That's what they're gonna do again. The only scenario I see where it's actually gonna be, you know, some shitfest or shitstorm around it is that, you know, Starfield is super super like heavily promoted and everything, right? So there's gonna be a lot of Normans coming in hot, and they don't know about Bethesda probably that much, right? Like like if they play Skyrim, they're already kind of like, you know, veterans basically. Most probably going to be coming in, you know, completely fresh, so they don't know what to expect, and those probably going to be bad. Those probably going to be mad. I think everyone who more or less knows the Bethesda games, they already kind of prepared. I'm just gonna go in probably on Game Pass, buying shit. Getting on Game Pass, playing through it on release, uninstalling it, everything, and then returning like years after on sale with all the DLCs and with like a bunch of mods on top of that. That's probably how it's gonna be. That's probably how it's gonna be. Alright. Done with the coffee. And that's what we're gonna deal with then. Alright. Through it all, we focused on running space laser focused and KPI driven campaigns on social media, and exclusively work with content creators who were genuinely interested in checking out the game without getting paid. Which is obviously, I think, is quite an optimal thing. It just requires way more effort to find the right people for that. Thanks to the strong Steam Greenlight campaign with 95% positive votes, those were the days. A massive Kickstarter with close to 11,000 backers. The first ever space launched with solid momentum into Steam Early Access in September 2016. Sold 19,000 copies during launch week with the lead price of $30. The one-day wishlist conversion rate was 10.7%, and 7 days was 15.1%, with 18% notifications sent. Our debut title earned 93% positive reviews until ratings took a beating due to technical issues from later VR and HOTAS implementation, in combination with the special hardware audience being hard to please. Plus extreme expectations from hardcore Space Sim fans wanting a different games than the one we were making. What a twist. Steam store page traffic during a launch week was substantial thanks to the game being featured for 2 days on the front page carousel, showing 8.1 million impressions, with a healthy 9.84% CTR leading close to 800,000 store page visits in Steam's backend. Deducting 6,574 activations and purchases from wishlists from total sales and dividing by store page traffic during launch week resulted in a store page sales conversion of 1.58%. The first 2-week-long winter sale shortly after launch went sorta well. Well, we saw another 2 million impressions on the store with a staggering 28% CTR, leading to 561,000 store page visits. Store page sales conversion was quite low at 0.34%, indicating that the users new to the game didn't see a great value yet. I think like from this from Steam front page and everything, trying to like deduct the conversion is a little weird, because it's just like, just in general, a lot of like curious people just clicking on the stuff they see. That's pretty much it. So they might be like clicking and then like, oh, it's like Space Sim and stuff. Well, that's not what I like in general even. However, 3,276 purchases from 178,424 notifications sent resulted in the much better 7-day conversion of 1.8%. Overall, the first ever space generated $1,670,000 in revenue on Steam from 65,000 copies sold during 9 months of early access. Not bad, eh? And puts like the pricing of the games in perspective too. Like 65,000 copies, if that would be like, I don't know, Vampire Survivors, right? With like $3 price, I mean, that still would be money, right? Solid, but that would be like completely different scale of things. Like below 100,000 copies, but still that much money just because it's like $30. As Everspace launched in full on PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and Switch, as well as debuting on Google Stadia and Amazon Luna, and provided enough runway for our team to develop the game we'd always wanted to make. The spacefaring looter-shooter action RPG Everspace 2. That's probably the numbers for... yeah, the early access, alright. Yeah, the first Everspace, I guess this one is. Yeah, the lifetime Steam revenue already in 10 million. Not bad, eh? Not bad at all, then. A lifetime Steam units 879,000. Holy shit. That's for the first game. That is not the second one. That is not the second one yet. Fast forward to January 2021, and we've just launched Everspace 2 in Steam Early Access with way more momentum, but also on a platform that has changed quite a lot. Thanks to much longer pre-launch campaign and another successful Kickstarter, albeit with fewer backers, 8,000, Everspace 2 launched with 226,000 wishlists, 16 times more than its predecessor. Thanks to this, the title qualified for the global Steam Store pop-up. Plus, notifications were sent to all owners of the predecessor on Steam, 750,000 at the time. If that wasn't enough, the sequel was also featured in a store page carousel during the entire launch week, leading to over 66 million impressions. In combinations with 92% positive reviews, Everspace 2 became the global #1 top seller on Steam that month. Damn, the farming. Now with so much more traffic, lower CTR was to be expected, but 3.63% is not too shabby, and certainly no complaints about the 61,000 copies sold. 320% better performance than our first game, as a hefty $40 lead price during launch week, busting the myth that games in early access should be cheap. I don't think it actually like busts the myth there. It's kind of like, you know, they already have like the audience that knows who they are. It's the second game for the people who already, you know what the game is about and play the first game, maybe even a lot of them. So for them, it's kind of like more justified at this point. And now you get like $40, for example, like Darkest Dungeon 2, right? Releasing out of early access for $40 now. So it's already not even early. This is early access $40, right? And they released out of early access with $40 price tag, and some people already not happy with that. Like it's too expensive for indie game. And well, here you go. So I don't think it's exactly busting any myths. In fact, I would argue the exact opposite. If devs don't want to leave money on the table, purchases and activations from wishlists were only at 496%, 32,000 copies, which can be explained because of the higher price point of the sequel and some 70,000 wishlist additions being added from Steam Fest, which seem to be generally less effective. 7-day wishlist conversion was also lower at 8.9%, 60% of the predecessor, confirming that wishlists are much less effective than they used to be, at least during early access. No, I think that's actually kind of like showing the fact that if it's like a high price, then people just not gonna like buy it from wishlist. That my opinion what it confirms. Like not that the wishlists are now more or less effective, but like, you know, people bought first game, for example, for $30, right? Put the second one in the wishlist, and they see the second one as like $40 in early access. So they're like, I wait, you know. That would be my guess here. Like it's not the worst conversion, it's just like people just don't want to buy that expensive when the previous game was cheaper. And because it's early access, so they can wait for the full release, wait for discounts and stuff. So yeah, I think that's the case. Like nowadays, I also would probably like seeing prices like that. I would like, no, I'll wait. Yeah, exactly, Hello. And I think that's what it confirms. Like it's not that Steam wishlist change and people, you know, like browse or buy differently. Maybe a little, but I think it's just the fact that the game is more expensive now. Like the established fans, they already know how much first game was, right? And they might as well wait and like play the first one more, for example. And the new frogs joining just see like, you know, $40 early access, and they're like, ooh, bro, no, I'm gonna wait. Steam store page conversion rate was 1.2% and thus lower, 76% than from predecessor, which makes sense when looking at 33% higher price point. That's the case. Peak active players were at 384%, 3,000 versus 800. Seeing $2,378,074 Steam revenue for the early access launch week was a huge relief. After going all in with the much bigger team of some 25 mouths to feed. After pushing back the early access launch 3 times, we could not have held on any longer, and we were safe now, or were we? And that's for the second game already now. And second is at 9 mil already. So the first one already was at 10, right? Over all the time. And this one at 9 right now. I mean, pretty good. A real early access launch 7-day and lifetime sales data pulled directly from Steam. To predict if we would be able to sustain a much longer early access period, we planned 18 instead of 9 months. We looked at the 28 baseline performance after the dust from the launch had settled. Store page impressions were at 431%, probably thanks to a much larger Steam user base and the sequel having a stronger momentum organically. However, the click-through rate was much lower at 3.39 instead of 11.28, which again, price point. Like here he gets it himself already. It's just the price point. In fact, the CTR from external traffic was at 172%, so the higher price was probably not an issue, which external traffic there. While ditching a linear roguelite formula in favor of a semi-open world space action RPG with looter-shooter mechanics was definitely a good move. Still, sales were at 129% with revenue at 181% thanks to the higher price. But our team was now at twice as strong, and salaries for veteran team had gone up quite a bit, so we had to rely on running several sales during early access to keep the lights on. Damn, dude, like, you're reading about such a successful fucking launch all over the place on all fronts, and they still kinda, you know, struggle basically. No reason to be concerned, sales performed fantastically in the past, plus we were now at making space combat exploration game appealing to a much broader audience, so we thought we would still be fine. Well, looking at the performance of the first seasonal sale of Everspace 2 during early access was quite shocking. Tyler received a whopping 30.4 million impressions on Steam's front page, 15 times impressions on Steam's front page predecessor, first seasonal sale. CTR dropped from 28.2 down to mere 2.67. That's 9% of what we were used to. Which, again, probably attributed to the price drop. I mean, need to compare. Like, how much the first game was on the first sale down and how much the second game was on the... Like, because when you browse sales, like, and you see, like, like, when I browse sales, like... Well, let's, like, convert the price, right? Like, AAA price here, let's say, like, 2,000, like... 500, 3,400, 4,000 nowadays already. And like when I browse sales, everything that is like above 1,000, I'm kind of like not even like looking at, like at any time pretty much, rarely, unless it's something I really want to buy. If it's like AAA on 50% discount, for example, and it costs like 30 bucks, let's say, maybe. But like if you see something like, you know, kind of indie and everything, and it's on sale and it's still like 30 or above, it's like, all right, I'll wait for another sale. There is something to publishers not wanting sci-fi games. I don't know. I mean, it's really crazy results. That's the thing. Like all across the board. I'm just kind of like thinking if they would be selling for the same price, for example. Like they're trying to use it as kind of like to break the myth that, you know, game can be expensive and early can be can be like expensive in early access, but maybe like if it would be cheaper, you know, maybe all those impressions, all those visitors on the page and wish list, they would bring way more. CTR from external traffic was at 112%, so our marketing efforts were still as effective as before. We assumed that extremely low seasonal sales CTR on the store had to be due to way more games being promoted thanks to all the new genres and subgenres that Valve introduced in 2021. I mean, I guess, but like to be honest, comparing to like 2017, I don't think it was like, you know, Steam wasn't the barren wasteland already. There was already plenty of shit there to play on sales and everything. And I mean, obviously it became even more, but I don't think the landscape is like much more complicated, especially when you have such a head start from the first game. I feel like a lot of these conclusions are just kind of like trying to put like stuff on like, you know, well, times change, you know, Steam changes and stuff, when in fact, probably just the fact that, you know, it's expensive, dude. Like, I'm pretty sure if you look at some like AAA game statistics from like 2017 when they were like 50, like maybe 60 bucks, right? And like at modern ones with like, you know, 70, 80 bucks, there probably would be also kind of similar trends there. And that wouldn't be because of Steam. Even though, I mean, obviously Steam kind of changed a bit, but I don't think things changed that much. Like, for me at least, like all the... how do you say? Like all the wishlist browsing didn't change whatsoever. Like I add stuff on wishlist just to kind of monitor it, right? So like I'm like, oh, I remember there was like this game that was really cool. Like, what was the name? And then I go to wishlist. Oh, that one, and I check it. That's pretty much it. And sometimes get like notifications that it's on sale, so I can go check. All right, too expensive. No. Sounds hard to sell compared to fantasy. That's the thing. They're selling well though. Like the results are really good. Like looking at the numbers, you know, like selling that many copies. Is the thing is like they also kind of 25 something people in the studio. I would assume. I think it wasn't mentioned. I don't remember. Where the studio is. Was it Germany or something? Don't think it actually kind of mentioned, didn't it? The Michael Shady. Not sure. Kind of sounded. It might be Germany or something. Not the most expensive country, but still, you know. I guess like rolling that many people in the team just kind of like, you know, increases the expenses quite a bit too. Yeah, where did we stop? Here. This one, yeah. Thankfully, activations and purchases from wishlists were still at 283% with a slightly lower 7-day conversion rate, 1.2 versus 1.8, which is like third less. That's quite. From 567,000 notifications sent, generating 6,924 sales at 20% off. So they got 20% on the first sale from $40, which still kind of puts it above $30 mark though. That's the thing, and I think that might be just kind of the reason. Like people on sales nowadays, especially like on sale, there is like a lot of stuff that is like kind of cheap, you know. AAA, like old AAA goes like really low on discounts quite often. Indie games like plenty, like, and if you're already kind of waiting for sales and you're not in a rush to play and you have other stuff to pick up, then you're probably just gonna wait until it's cheaper. Leading to $507,000 Steam revenue thanks to the higher price point. Cheap games FTW myth busted again. I don't know, man. I'm not sure about that. I feel like overall it probably would be the same though. Right? Like if they would drop the prices, they probably would sell more copies, but you know, earn kind of like samey amount of money probably. And I guess having higher prices, like in this case especially, might be a little kind of better idea because you know, like when you sell it cheaper, people already got their copy and done. When you sell expensive, people like some people might wait for like deeper discounts, but you already sold some copies to people for a lot more money, right? So those people who didn't buy, they're still gonna buy it as cheap as you would sell it otherwise. But there's also a bunch of people who already bought it more expensive. So I guess that kind of makes sense. It's just like all the statistics kind of like that they probably that low because, well, like not low, they're still good, but that lower just because the price point, in my opinion. Steam does a much better job now of getting the right users to our store page as the sales conversion rate went up from 0.34 to 5.13%. In other words, Steam users are now 15 times more likely to buy Everspace 2 when coming to our store page from within the platform, which is a massive improvement. That's really good, yeah. Overall, Everspace 2 generated 7.59 million Steam-qualified revenue from 224,000 copies sold during 27 months of early access and was a great success for our fully self-funded studio. In combination with a massive PC Game Pass deal with Microsoft, as well as significant revenues from the predecessor on PC and console, plus various cloud gaming licensing deals, we were able to make an even bigger game and work together with our community on a very polished launch build for a version 1 release, much longer than planned. But it still went well. A bonus insight, the Game Pass deal did not hurt our performance on Steam when comparing two almost identical sales beats, releasing a major content update synced with a 20% sale. few weeks before and after Everspace 2 launched on Microsoft Store. Take it with a grain of salt, but the slight decline in performance is in line with similar beats even further before and after adding Everspace 2 to Game Pass. If anything, baseline sales even increased a few months later. So getting the Game Pass... I mean, it's kind of like hard to say in this scale, though. Like, did it actually affect stuff? I guess it pretty much didn't change shit, to be honest. Maybe I guess there was like a drop-off initially. First. Very small one also, I guess, in you know, related to everything else. But yeah, still had like the spikes and everything. I feel like Game Pass is worse for some games that have like, you know, big name and stuff. Like if it's something people expect and then it will be on Game Pass, then everyone will kind of hear about it already. And people will kind of even like aim for it. Like for me with Starfield, for example, I already know it's going to be on Game Pass. I'm going to get it on Game Pass. That's it. But when it's something kind of like less known, I guess, then you don't really hear about it too much, right? There's no like, oh shit, this game will be on Game Pass and all like, you know, like websites and everything. It's just going to be somewhere posted like, all right, list of new games for like February, for example, right? It's going to be there in the list somewhere. So like for many people, probably nothing kind of changed. Like if they have the Game Pass, they probably like, oh, is this game here? Gonna check it out. And if they don't and don't care, then they still gonna be like browsing Steam. Oh, this game is on sale. I'm gonna buy it here or something. But if it would be like something very huge, then people probably would, and something very expensive too, people probably already would rather pick it there, I feel. Everspace 2 version 1 launch week. On the course of early access, we lost 5% in positive reviews due to VR enthusiasts being disappointed that we won't support their favorite platform in Everspace 2. And some fans of hardcore space sims were not happy with our more accessible approach. VR again. VR strikes back. Other negative reviews came from us doubling down on fast-paced action, RPG and looter elements, and adding even more puzzle mechanics in the game. Still on April 6th, Everspace 2 launched into version 1 with 87% positive reviews on Steam and 83 aggregate score on both Metacritic and OpenCritic. Thanks to a very solid review build that was sent to media and content creators 3 weeks prior. Also strongly believe that having a time-unlimited, always up-to-date demo throughout early access helped tremendously to manage expectations and reduce the number of negative reviews, especially from pilots with HOTAS setup who could customize button and flight axis mapping to their liking before making an educated purchase decision. For the version 1 launch, Everspace 2 received a lot of Steam love again. Another global pop-up message, 48 hours early access page takeover, and featuring in the front page carousel throughout the entire week, generated 23.4 million impressions, 246% increase over the predecessor's 1.0 release. A lower CTR of 2.46 versus 4.63 is probably rooted in the increased price of $50 despite a 10% launch discount. And another one, why your CTRs and stuff dropping, dude, is because the price, man. Surprisingly, we received only a few complaints about the price, with our community immediately jumping in on the Steam forums and social media, stating that the game was worth its price tag. Sales during launch week were solid. We sold twice as many Everspace 2 copies, 42,000 during launch week compared to the predecessor, 20,000. Interestingly, the 7 days wishlist conversion was identical at 2%. Seems that for 1.0 release wishlists are as powerful as they used to be. And that actually also confirms the situation that, you know, it's not because wishlists are different, it's because people like were waiting. Some people were waiting for sales and some people were waiting until it's out of early access because they don't want to buy early access title. It's not some wishlist magic, it's just people waiting for some stuff, you know. Fanboys defending the price, never heard that before. Was it kind of the same with like Darkest Dungeon in a way? Like there was a lot of people upset with the price increase. And, you know, I'm not sure if that actually kind of ended up in some sort of like conversation about it, you know. I think some people just kind of weren't happy about it, and that's it. Not sure if someone was protecting it or not. Thanks to the higher lead price, Steam revenue in our first week was 1,834,339 dollars, which again proves that it's okay to ask for a higher price for a AA product. What AA? You need to kind of specify. Like, it's gonna like, oh, bro, like, sell games expensive. It works. Look at us. And like, at some, you know, like the Pipiega simulator gonna go in and try to sell their Pipiega simulator for like $30 or something, and no one's gonna buy that. We had double sales in 3.5 times the revenue in our forecast, confirming our overall business case that tripling our investment in Everspace 2 was a good idea. Remains to be seen if this performance continues during seasonal and scheduled sales, but sitting at 700,000 wishlists with lots of coming sale events to burn through, plus the upcoming console release on Xbox and PlayStation lets us sleep well at night. Another major relief was that the Game Pass deal didn't hamper our version 1 launch on Steam. On the contrary, another round of marketing support from Microsoft for Everspace 2 upcoming version 1 release helped boost interest from media and gamers alike. Earlier this year, with the only major spike of Game Pass users came from the game releasing on Game Preview in October 2021. Hey, Levis. That's the thing with early access games now. Like, if you really want the game, you kind of probably want to get it before it releases because it's gonna be cheaper. Like, if it's long enough in early access to have some sales in early access, that's probably when you should get something, because when it's gonna be on full release, it's gonna take some time until it drops that price again, if it will. I mean, it will probably, but that will take a while. All in all, I achieved everything that we aimed for at PC launch of Everspace 2. As a team, we didn't screw up development, delivered on nearly all our promises. Self-publishing plan with 12 major beats beginning from the announcement at Gamescom in 2019 to the version 1 release on PC was a major success. Every marketing dollar spent on highly targeted social ads wisely. Been a long ride, and with the PC launch done, the team and I have had a moment to catch our breath. That said, there is more to come. Well, I mean, actually for like AA and stuff games, I think that might be kind of fine idea to like up the price, because as I said, like especially in early access, in my opinion, because like you're still gonna have like the long period of like, you know, keeping the updates rolling. So you're kind of gonna be slowly convincing people to, you know, to buy them by adding more stuff, dropping the price once in a while. So you kind of like slowly continue convincing people. But then you need to plan like all the sales and the price bump on release. You need to also like kind of plan. Do you need that? Will it make people too mad or something? But if you're kind of getting something long run, then I think it might be good to start with a high price, because later those who don't want to pay high price, they most likely gonna buy it when it's on some big sale, right? So you're still gonna sell them the game for the price you probably would sell it before, being it cheaper, right? But you also would sell the game to people who would pay more. So I guess that kind of makes sense. But the thing is, it should be something like kind of still more or less like massive, polished, with production value and stuff. Like if it's like some indie like platformer, then probably not the best idea. Just because like people are just gonna forget about it. You put it like for high price, people are just gonna like pass by and forget about it, most likely. Feels like psychological blackmail. It depends on the game, though. Like I think it's completely fine, because you know you entrust the developers in their development, to give them money for the development, because you know you trust in that stuff. Like you basically kind of like fund the development by buying it in early access, and that's why you get like some discount, like kind of founders edition basically or something, right? But if you want to wait for the full release, then yeah, sure, you're gonna buy fully released, complete version, no risks, you know, all done, but price will be a bit higher. It's still probably gonna go drop even lower on sales eventually, but gotta wait for that. It's still like the speed of like sales on the games that were already out for a long time in early access, it's usually quite fast, so it's gonna drop like quite soon, but still not sure how deep. Alright, it's been a long ride with the PC launch date. The team and I have had a moment to catch our breath. That said, there's more to come. The successful launch will be able to continue living the indie dream and keep making exciting space action RPGs for PC and console old school style, without anyone reading down our neck to incorporate online functionality, microtransactions, or whatever the latest fancy new monetization scheme might be into classic style single player game, which is exactly what our fans want us to keep making. I couldn't ask for more. And yeah, for that, I mean, maybe it is kind of worth, forking out a pretty solid price. Because there's not gonna be the monetization and stuff. As long as they don't turn to, to that road, you never know. Yeah, the funny part, yeah, out of everything, like I would say probably like very successful stuff. Like if we had some of our dev people from community present, that is probably, in my opinion, very successful stuff, like all around, right? And they still, at some points of the development, they were still barely making it. Like after the first game already generated 10 million in lifetime revenue and stuff. After the Kickstarters and stuff running, they still had some moments of financially struggling. And that is the insane part. That is the insane part, in my opinion. And you can do that good and everything, and still not good enough. Alright, give me the camera. Alright, there we go. There we go.